Do you ever feel like you're playing a role you didn't choose? You wake up, you check your phone, you go through the motions. Maybe you try to be productive. Maybe you try to be a good person. But deep down, something doesn't feel real. It's like you're watching yourself live your own life from a slight distance. Like your smile isn't fully yours. Like your voice sometimes sounds like a stranger's. Alan Watts, British philosopher, speaker, and modern mystic, had a radical explanation for this sensation. He believed the self we cling to doesn't actually exist, not in the way we think. And if you've ever felt lost, anxious, or disconnected from who you are, his ideas might not only explain why, it might free you. The person you think you are is a mask. The word person comes from the Latin persona, which literally means mask. A character worn on a stage, and yet it's the word we use to describe ourselves. Watts believed most of us are walking around wearing masks we forgot we put on. You're not doing it on purpose. It's not a deception, it's conditioning. You were told from the moment you were born, you are this, you are that. You're a good girl, you're a bad boy, you're too loud, you're so smart. You always do this. And piece by piece, year by year, you assembled an identity. You became someone, but that someone isn't actually you. It's a mental construct, a bundle of memories, ideas, reactions, judgments, and expectations. And here's the catch. The more tightly you cling to that idea of yourself, the more trapped you become. Trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. Alan Watts. You can't be who you think you are. Because the thinker is not the self. It's a function, an echo, a voice in your head, but not your essence. The myth of the separate self. From an early age, you were taught that you are an individual, a separate entity, little me inside a skin bag, navigating a big external world. But Watts challenges this completely. He says the idea of a separate self is an illusion, one that causes nearly all of our anxiety, fear, and suffering. You're not separate from the world. You are the world. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. That sounds poetic, but Watts wasn't being poetic. He meant it literally. Your breath is not just yours, it's shared with trees. Your body is not a possession. It's made from stardust, recycled earth, and the food you eat. Your mind didn't appear in a vacuum, it formed through language, relationships, culture. You are not an island. You're a wave on the surface of reality. You didn't come into this world. You came out of it, like a wave from the ocean. You are not a stranger here. Alan Watts. And if that's true, who exactly have you been trying to become? The trap of identity. Most of our lives are spent trying to prove that we are someone. We obsess over our brand, our status, our labels. We take personality tests. We write bios. We worry how others perceive us. But Watts reminds us every identity is a limitation. Every label, good or bad, locks you inside a box. Every role comes with rules you didn't write. And slowly that box becomes a prison. You don't even realize the bars are there because they look like success, like order, like knowing who you are. But inside you feel disconnected because the deeper you go into the performance, the further you drift from your true experience. The ego is nothing other than the focus of conscious attention. It's a fiction. Alan Watts. The more you believe in the little I, the more you suffer, because the I is never satisfied. It always needs validation. It's always comparing. It's always chasing something else to make it feel real. But the real you needs nothing, because the real you isn't a character. It's consciousness itself, who you really are. According to Watts, you are not the voice in your head. You are the awareness hearing it. You are not the face in the mirror. You are the light behind the eyes. You are not your memories, not your beliefs, not your image or your fears. You are the experience of being alive. And that experience is not separate from the universe. It is the universe, becoming aware of itself. When you breathe, the world breathes with you. When you feel, the entire cosmos is feeling through you. When you cry, it's the ocean inside your heart remembering where it came from. This isn't metaphysical fluff. It's grounded in every spiritual tradition, echoed in quantum science, and lived in moments when we lose our identity. During flow, art, love, meditation. In those moments, we disappear. And yet we feel more ourselves than ever. It's not an accident. That's the truth breaking through. Why we cling to control. If you're not the image of yourself, if you're not the little I in your head, then what are you? That's a terrifying question for most people. Because if you aren't who you think you are, then who's in charge? Who's steering the ship? That's where fear creeps in. We cling to control because we're afraid of the unknown. The ego, the mind-made self, hates surrender. It wants to plan, predict, and protect itself. But control is a myth. Life cannot be controlled. You can't control your heartbeat. You can't control your thoughts. You can't control what others feel. You can barely control your breathing without effort. And yet, we live as if we're in charge of everything. We fear change. We fear death. We fear chaos. And so we create endless strategies to feel safe. But Watts says, to have faith is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab hold of the water, because if you do, you will sink and drown. Instead, you relax and float. Trying to control life is like trying to grab water with your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Surrender isn't weakness, it's alignment. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving into the flow of life. It means realizing that you were never in control to begin with. And that's not something to fear. It's something to be free of. Watts teaches that when you stop clinging to control, something beautiful happens. You begin to trust life. Not because life is always easy or fair, but because life is you. You are not the passenger. You are the ride. You and I are all as much continuous with the physical universe as a wave is continuous with the ocean. When you realize that you're not separate from the world, you stop fighting it. You stop needing to force outcomes. You stop playing mental chess with every possibility. And you begin to live in rhythm with what is. That's not passivity, it's intelligence. It's flowing with the river instead of trying to swim upstream. The ego's fear of disappearing. Letting go of who you think you are means allowing parts of yourself to dissolve. And that's terrifying, because the ego believes its own survival is your survival. When you challenge its narratives, when you stop chasing status, validation, and fixed identity, the ego panics, because it doesn't want you to know a truth that would destroy it. You don't need it. Not to feel love, not to feel peace, not to be whole. You've been whole the entire time. Watts explains, the real you is not a puppet which life pushes around. The real you is the whole universe experiencing itself. But the ego doesn't want to dissolve into something greater. It wants to be special, in control, separate. That's why most people resist awakening, because awakening isn't a glow-up. It's a death. It's the death of the false self, the death of illusion. But what's born in its place is freedom. What it feels like to wake up. Have you ever had a moment, just a flash, where the mental noise stopped? Maybe you were watching the sunset. Maybe you were holding someone you love. Maybe you were just sitting still, not thinking, not striving. And for a second you were just here, not performing, not analyzing, just present. That's it. That's the real you. The experience of being without commentary. Watts believed this is our natural state. It's not something to achieve. It's what's always been underneath the performance. But we're so used to identifying with the noise in our head, we miss the stillness that's been here the whole time. You don't have to become someone new. You just have to let go of who you're not. In that space, life flows in. Not the life you scripted, not the one you curated for others, but the one that's been waiting to be felt. What changes when you realize the truth? When you realize you're not who you think you are, everything changes. You stop being obsessed with your image. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop chasing purpose like it's something outside you. Instead, you start living. You cry more easily. You laugh more honestly. You notice little things, the sound of birds, the smell of coffee, the way light hits a wall. You stop needing life to mean something and start letting it mean everything. That's the paradox. When you stop clinging to identity, you discover true depth. When you stop chasing happiness, joy arises naturally. When you stop performing, you connect. Watts wasn't trying to create a new dogma. He wasn't trying to give you answers. He wanted you to feel the truth you already know but forgot. You are not separate. You are not a role. You are not broken. You are life, dancing in human form. Life was never a problem to solve. Most people go through life like they're solving a puzzle. Who am I? What's my purpose? How do I fix myself? How do I get more success, more love, more meaning? It's endless. But Alan Watts flips the entire premise. He said, the meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet, everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. Life was never a test. You were never a problem, and you don't have to become anything other than what you already are. A tree doesn't rush to grow. The bird doesn't plan its path. The waves don't question their motion. They exist, fully, unapologetically. So why can't we? Because we've been convinced that stillness means failure. That if we're not striving, we're falling behind. That being isn't enough, we have to become. But Watts reminds us, you are the universe experiencing itself. What else is there to do but experience? What happens when you let go? When you stop identifying with the ego, you stop fighting life. You stop comparing your timeline to someone else's. You stop trying to control what was never yours to control. You begin to see life less as a battle and more as a dance. There's a rhythm to it. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes joyful, sometimes painful, but always changing. And when you stop gripping so tightly, when you stop needing to be someone, you start moving with life instead of against it. You laugh more. You forgive faster. You rest without guilt. You realize that peace was never waiting at the finish line. It's been walking beside you the whole time. Let go of becoming and just be. You don't need a better version of you to be worthy. That doesn't mean stop growing. It means stop delaying love, joy, and peace until you've earned it. You don't need to accomplish your way into aliveness. You just need to notice it. You're already breathing. You're already feeling. You're already here. There's nothing to reach for. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Alan Watts. Sometimes the most profound shift isn't doing more, but finally allowing yourself to stop, to be quiet, to listen, to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. That silence, that space, that's where the real you lives. The gentle invitation. Watts never claimed to have the truth. He wasn't a guru. He didn't want followers. He simply wanted you to wake up to the fact that you've been chasing something you already are. That your suffering isn't a sign you're broken. It's a signal that you've believed something false. He wasn't preaching a path. He was offering an invitation to stop, to look, to wonder. What if you're not a separate mind in a body? What if you're not doing life? What if life is doing you? Wouldn't that change everything? Wouldn't that allow you to breathe again? Final reflections. You are not who you think you are. So let's come back to where we started. You're not the story you've told yourself. You're not the voice in your head. You're not your fears, not your past. Not your identity or your image. You are the awareness beneath all of it. The one who sees, the one who feels, the one who lives fully, silently, eternally. And the moment you stop trying to become something, you finally remember what you are. Not a person chasing peace, but peace in motion. Not a mind trying to find truth. Truth, remembering itself. Not a drop searching for the ocean, but the ocean momentarily dancing as a drop. Alan Watts didn't want you to adopt a new belief. He wanted you to drop the ones that keep you from feeling alive. Because life isn't somewhere else. Life is now. And now is who you really are.